This channel is for educational purposes only. Please do your own due diligence before making any investment decisions.
This is Joe Rabil. So today I'm going to show you how we can identify powerful stocks using 3 different time frames, and all of them play a role. We're going to lean on ADX probably a little bit more than anything else, but it's the characteristics of this trade are something you definitely want to learn. All right, now if you want to learn more about these techniques, I would suggest starting with the book, and you can click the link in the description to find out more. Also, if you do enjoy this content, please hit that like button and also subscribe. Okay, I've got 4 current examples I'm going to talk about today, and we're going to go through these step by step. All right, so on the bottom left, I've got the monthly chart. Okay, and what we're looking for there is we want to have a move to the upside that shows strength that was confirmed by both MACD and ADX to the upside. Now, when we look at the way this setup evolves, you want to see this ADX line staying above the 25 line through a correction, all right? Meaning we go through a corrective period and the ADX stays above 25 throughout that. All right, in this case, it stayed in the mid-30s, so that's really excellent strength, trend strength. So we know we've got this rising 18 above a rising 40, but we also know we're in a power trend right now. All right, because we've made it back to the 18. Now, there's another way to be able to determine if we're in a power trend with the ADX. Like, how do we know that we've gone through a correction? What you do is you go down to the smaller time frame, and you see that the MACD is very, very far away from its 0 line, okay? And then you also see the ADX is up in the 50 region, big number there. So we're looking for both of these to work off the overbought condition. And, really the prerequisite for MACD is just to get back to 0. Now, it can cross down below a little bit, and in some cases it will, but the point we want to make here is that we want to work off this overbought from way above to get it back a little bit closer to the 0 line. All right, we've done that. We've got a pretty good situation on our hands, because what's happened here is that we had monster strength to the upside, and we're retaining that strength on this time frame, even though we've gone through a pretty good correction period on this time frame. Now, one of the keys is making sure that the ADX shows no strength in the sellers. The sellers cannot cause this blue line to pop in any way. If it does, then we kind of scratch this trade, this specific trade that I'm talking about. All right. Now, once we have that, we have these 2 situations in place. First, we have monster strength to the upside. Okay. And then during the corrective phase, we work off the overbought, and we don't show any strength in the sellers. All right. If we have that, then we go to our 3rd time frame, and we are looking for strength in the ADX. Strength in the ADX meaning we are crossing above the 25 line. We're above that level. All right. We want to go and look at the price pattern. In this case, it's sort of like a cup and handle pattern. You can see it's breaking out of a pretty good base here. So we definitely want to have something like that when we're looking at the specific setup. But the point here is, in terms of looking and identifying which stocks you want to play, we've got powerful trend here that is retained through a correction phase. We go through a correction. We don't see a lot of violent selling, which certainly does not show up in the ADX. That's the key here. All right. Once we have those 2 things in place, we want to see the ADX kick into gear. It's always going to start on this time frame. If you notice, we only have a little DI strength here. ADX is still down at 13, 14 on this time frame. It's going to take a little while to get this ADX going on the weekly, but we can watch for a kick into gear on a breakout pattern. In this case, we're getting confirmation on the daily time frame. That's what we want to see. So that's how we use these 3 time frames. Let me just show you a couple other examples. So CME makes a strong move. Now, this isn't an extensive correction. In fact, it's showing a pinch play. But if you notice, the ADX is even rising right now, right? It's still rising, and it's up around the 43 level. It's a lot of strength in this trend. We just broke out of a pretty big base, and now we're checking back to that breakout area. And if you notice what's happened on this time frame, we had an overbought MACD that's worked back down to 0. Now, it's a flyby pattern because it's not quite touching the 0 line, And look at how low the ADX has gone from it was at 50 and now it's down to 8. All right, so we have worked off the overbought condition, and this is a pretty little ABC corrective pattern. Now look at what's happening. We're starting to show a little bit of strength here. We need to see a little bit more strength out of the ADX on this time frame, and that'll tell us things are kicking into gear. So if we get that, we get a little pullback, we can make a higher low. That would be probably the entry that would show up in this 3 time frame strategy. All right, retaining the strength through a correction with a lot of power in the trend, working off the overbought condition without any sign of strength in the sellers, and then going down to this time frame and looking for new strength to show up. So keep an eye on that one. CNO is another one that is has an interesting situation. So we've got powerful move here. Look at the strength. I think it hit 50 on the way up. All right, MACD confirmed that. Now, you're going to get a little overrun in MACD and all that. That's okay, right? We go through corrective patterns. That's what's typically going to happen. Now, this worked its way back to the 18. If you notice, this is still in the low 40s, okay? MACD in this situation has corrected all the way back down to the 0 line, all right? And look at how low ADX has gotten down to 10. All right, so we were way up almost at 50, and now we're down to 10. We've got MACD hovering in the area of the 0 line after being very overbought. So we go and look for this time frame. You can see we're very close to getting the ADX to actually cross above for the first time in a few months. And we've got a little breakout pattern developing. So this is definitely one that kind of fits the description of what I'm looking for, which is retaining the strength that it showed on the monthly chart, right? Working off the overbought condition and not showing any sign of true strength in the sellers. And now we're very close to crossing above that 25 line and kicking things into gear. Kind of all things that's very close. All right, look at CNK. This is Cinemark Holdings. So this was a little bit different because we had a lot of strength to the upside. We had the confirmation. We had a really good move here, but it formed a little ABC corrective pattern. So in this case, we really want to watch and make sure that we're retaining the strength. And if you notice, we're still in the low 30s through a full ABC kind of corrective pattern, right? So we do the same thing on this time frame. We got this big ABC playing out, and MACD worked off the overbought condition, bounced off, and now it came down again. Yeah, it's overrun the 0 line, but in the big scheme of things, we want to make sure that there's not any real sign of selling strength in the ADX. All right, we can have overrun in the MACD, and that's a sign of velocity, but we want to make sure that we're not getting real strong distribution signs based on the ADX readings, based on the sellers. And the sellers have not been able to take control throughout this whole period, and we have a low ADX condition, right? So then we go to this time frame, and we see that we've got ABC down. We're back to the 18-month. We've got still retaining the strength here. We've worked off the overbought. We've got a double bottom. We got MACD clicking in another little buy signal, right? We had a buy signal here, and that was too early in my view. And then, it tried to make a little bit of a push, but now it's come back down. Now we're getting our second opportunity with the low ADX condition, and now the ADX is trying to kick into gear on that time frame, on the daily time frame. So we could be seeing a little bit of strength to the upside. If we can get that ADX above, we would look to play a pullback here. So these are the 3 things we're looking for. We want to make sure that we're following these little qualifiers. Okay, these are key when you're trying to identify true strength in the market. There's so many stocks out there. There's ways to kind of shrink the universe by following these types of plans. All right, if you can do that, then your odds of success are really going to improve, I think. All right, now we're going to get some overrun in the MACD on the monthly. I mentioned this before. I would not. I think I would be more focused on the 3 things that we talked about related to retaining the strength here, all right, working off the overbought condition here, all right, and then looking for the strength to show up. Now, this hasn't happened on this time frame. In fact, out of the 4, only one of these I think has climbed above the 25 level, okay? So make sure you get that, and then you can always buy a pullback looking for a higher low after that has developed. We don't want to be too early on this time frame. I know sometimes you want to jump the gun and jump in there. I'm like that too. We have these things in position, but if we have low ADX here, we want to make sure we're showing strength on this time frame that's kicking things into gear. Once that happens, then we can get a little bit more aggressive about playing for an entry. All right. Let me know if you have any questions, and we'll see you next time.